Ravens Wrap is brought to you by Bud Light, FlyLady.net, Ocean City Golf Club, Comfort Inn Gold Coast, Ravens247.com, the original Green Turtle Sports Bar and Grill, and hosted by the Blue Ox Bar and Grill.
A very special installment of the Ravens Wrap Show here on Comcast Beach TV and the strongest signal Ravens affiliate on the Eastern Shore, Delmarva's Rock Radio, 93.5 The Beach. It is the original Green Turtles Ravens Wrap Show brought to you by the Blue Ox Bar and Grill, Bud Light, FlyLady.net, the Ocean City Golf Club, G&G Outfitters, Ravens247.com, the Comfort Inn Gold Coast, and our friends at jctickets.net. Coming up, we're going to briefly recap the 30-27 win over the Arizona Cardinals. We'll preview the upcoming game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. And we are broadcasting from the Ravens Room. We're broadcasting from the Ravens Room of the Blue Ox, 127th Street and Coastal Highway in Ocean City with Ravens Verse 44. Give yourself I'm Mike Bradley from 105.7 The Fan in Baltimore. To my left, All-Pro, former safety, Baltimore Colt, Bruce Laird. Give a round of applause. Tony Lombardi from Ravens247.com, editor-in-chief. And
Wait a minute.
What?
You forgot something.
Oh, that's right.
6-time Parkville touch football champion.
I meant to make note of that. But it is a very special week here. It's a very special week in the Ravens Wrap Show. Not only is it Ravens Steeler Week, but folks, once again, we've been very honored to have Ravens owner Steve Bisciotti as a special guest on our show. Give a hand for Steve Bisciotti. And I won't get too much into the details, but the biggest Ravens comeback this past week in history, the Ravens 30-27 of the Arizona Cardinals, now 5-2 on the season. A big day for Joe Flacco in the second half, and Anquan Bolden and Terrell Suggs, and a great week here as we lead into Sunday Night Football against the Steelers, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on. But Bruce, I will throw it to you as we got a lot of good questions for Steve Bisciotti tonight.
Yeah, we really do. And Steve, thank you so much for being down here. The people here at 44 always love seeing you, and it's a big pleasure having you on the program with us. And I want to go back to the offseason a little bit because I know you spent 5 years under Art Modell, and he's kind of the class of the league. And what did it feel like when you had to make those decisions about letting go Todd Heap, Kelly Gregg, and some of those players that I know you're really close with?
It's Billick was my first big decision, so I survived it. So I just thought, screw it, I'll just keep trying. It's difficult, but you hear the cliche. Sometimes great teams get rid of players a year or two early instead of a year or too late, and it really does define them. A year too early. In reality, you would like to take them where you need them. But when you go back and you look at Ozzie and Eric and the way they draft, and guys that have known them and the way they draft, when they took Ed Dixon and Dennis Pitta in back-to-back rounds in 3 and 4, I saw the writing on the wall. I'm thinking to myself, okay, this is the Shannon Sharpe, Todd Heap thing. It's like we're not going to invest that kind of money and then have 3 tight ends when we're primarily one tight end set team. They're difficult decisions, but you have to make those decisions. And if you saw the budget, and you're sitting there with your wife or your husband, and you look at what you have to spend, then you put your priorities down in order, and you scratch them off, and you do without certain things. And in this business, the problem is that you've got guys coming off of rookie deals where they're making $400,000, and then look at Ray Rice. I mean, he's going to be a free agent, second-round pick. I think we're paying him $550,000. Some people are telling us he's a $10 million guy. So when you make that decision to jump up and sign Ray Rice next year, then you have to look at the people and find, we always say the 80-20 rule. If he's 80%, if Ed Dixon is 80% good as Todd Heap, then you have to make that decision because you're going to spend 20% the amount of money.
And there's only
Get
so much.
80%.
There's only so much in the cap,
Yeah,
right?
there's only so much.
So-
And what you don't realize is that the players that are scheduled to make the bonuses push out other people that they all fit before, but now too many of them are getting raises.
I think the thing that makes those kinds of players jump off of the page is that the Ravens have a short history. There's 15 years, and a lot of these guys have been with them a good part of that 15 years. So when they leave, it's different than, let's say, a San Francisco, which has lost Joe Montana and Jerry Rice and Ronnie Lott and those kinds of guys.
Yeah.
So I think it becomes more of a glaring thing when it's when your team has a short history like that.
Yeah. Well, I saw Todd on the field. Yes.
I know you did. That's one of the reasons I asked the question,
Yeah.
because I know how close you were.
And I went over and you know, we embraced and I wished him well. And I just told him, I said, just look up on the Ring of Honor and pick what place you want to go.
Nice.
Very nice.
Once a Raven, always a Raven. More with our special guest, Steve Bisciotti. It is the Ravens Wrap Show from the Blue Ox, 127th Street and Coastal Highway, with Ravens Roost 44 right here on Comcast Beach TV.
Are you embarrassed to invite people to your home to watch your favorite football team? Well, don't worry, because you're not alone. FlyLady.net is the support you need. Join us and our more than 600,000 members and learn how to crush the clutter and game plan your way through routines that'll help you organize your home and your life. Tackle clutter and get your home game day ready with FlyLady.net.
G&G Outfitters, Inc. is a premier full-service in-house provider of branded merchandise and marketing solutions. With over 20 years of proven experience, G&G continues to successfully produce branded merchandise for some of the world's leading corporations, associations, and teams. From start to finish, G&G Outfitters is your single-source, one-stop partner for promotional products, logoed apparel, and all of your branded needs. For more info on the services and capabilities of G&G, visit ggoutfitters.com or call 301-731-2282.
In April 1959, Art Wall won the Masters, edging out Carey Middlecoff and Arnold Palmer by finishing birdie, 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 par birdie. 1 month later, Ocean City Golf Club celebrated the opening of their first 18 holes. That course has been transformed now into one of the most scenic golf layouts on the East Coast. Come experience 36 of the most beautiful and challenging holes you'll find anywhere. Ocean City Golf Club in Ocean City, Maryland.
What's going on?
We're giving Matt the NFL experience of a high-pressure field goal.
Look out! It's terrible, man!
There's an easier way to get an ultimate NFL fan experience. Just snap the tag wherever Bud Light is sold and you could win. Bud Light in the NFL. Here we go.
Hey, it gets easier. Really? No.
Very special guest, Ravens owner Steve Bisciotti, joining us. Another round of applause for him. And Steve, just from the start, I know you like your cigars, especially Victory Cigar. I know we can't smoke here, they changed the laws, but I did my best in my aluminum foil humidor here, to give you some pretzel rods as a best supplement for your, so you can there you go.
Where's the salute, man? It ain't going to be the same.
Listen, by the time those cops get here, the show will be over.
Steve, I know a year ago we were concerned about the fact that the CBA was running out and that negotiations were going to take place, and clearly there was a lot of thought that maybe we could miss ball games, maybe an entire season. You were on our show last year with us and said, Mike, at the end of the day, I got to think that we're going to get it together and get a deal done. And you guys did, and salute to you guys. We didn't miss any preseason games, didn't miss the regular season. Talk about now the aftermath. Talk about your thoughts about that whole process.
I always knew that you were close. I always knew that we were close enough. I always had faith that you would get it done. I've seen enough negotiations in the past that when you start arguing, when you're down to arguing about 5%, it takes, you know, it doesn't take a genius to realize that if you miss 6% of your season, then you're in the hole. So at what point do you stop fighting over that and miss a game? And then you literally miss 1/16 of your season, 1/16 of your revenue, and then that's just going to create a greater divide. So I just believe that that's the way negotiations go. They go to the wire, you look how far apart you are, maybe one side or the other concedes, the other one holds firm, or you get it somewhere in the middle that everybody's, you know, they say no, in a perfect negotiation, nobody's satisfied. Well, that's what we ended up with. You know, nobody's satisfied, but we got football back, and that's what matters.
Yeah, and it's interesting too when you think about the offseason and all the time leading into the CBA and the negotiations between the owners and the players, and you think, you hear all the fan backlash. And they're getting angry, and because that one thing that they really look forward to might be taken away from them, but then it starts again, and all that seems to be a distant memory.
Yeah, I mean, right away. It's just when it ended. It ended. I mean, there wasn't any carryover, was there? It was done.
And all the lawyers were very happy.
The lawyers were happy.
They wanted it to go on a little bit longer.
Very happy. Yeah, I mean, that's just, sometimes you can fight with that. I think that the union got to a point where they were worried that maybe that you know, at a certain point there's a split interest there.
Right.
You know, between their lawyers. And you know, they solve it, they go away.
Sometimes in the off-season, other things that were addressed were the competition committee comes up with these different rules and whatnot. And I think that one of the things in season that fans are having some trouble with is some of these fines. Yeah. Some of the, you know, Bernard Pollard hitting Jacksonville. And at some point in time, I guess you guys have to drop back and say, okay, we wanted A to happen, but B's beginning to happen, and it's taking away from the integrity of the game.
And I think that you know, I'm more disappointed that he got fined after than I am he got flagged, because it was a violent looking hit, and when you look at it in slow motion, the guy ducks and it's just enough for the top of Bernard's helmet to hit his face mask. But who doesn't duck when they're about to get hit in the stomach? It's your natural reaction. The intent wasn't there, and so I'm very disappointed in the league that they followed through on a fine as if to say that's our story and we're sticking to it. We do have to clean that up, and if they go too far, then they'll make it back to where they need to make it back to. I think it's important that we make some changes, and you know, the one thing that you know is that the lack of tackling got so bad that these guys, their definition of tackling was to go 100 miles an hour and hit their upper body into your upper body, and that's not tackling.
Correct.
And so as they legislate these head hits out, you're going to find these guys going back to tackling.
And we'll talk, and we'll pick up and talk about that more. More of the Ravens Wrap Show coming up next on Comcast.
Ravens Wrap is brought to you by Bud Light, FlyLady.net, Ocean City Golf Club, Comfort Inn Gold Coast, Ravens247.com, the original Green Turtle Sports Bar and Grill, and hosted by the Blue Ox Bar and Grill. Ravens Wrap is brought to you by Bud Light, FlyLady.net, Ocean City Golf Club, Comfort Inn Gold Coast, Ravens247.com, the original Green Turtle Sports Bar and Grill, and hosted by the Blue Ox Bar and Grill.
We are broadcasting from the Ravens Room here at the Blue Ox, 127th Street and Coastal Highway in Ocean City. Ravens Room 44, give yourselves a hand. Thank our sponsors, the original Green Turtle Sports Bar and Grill, also the Blue Ox Sports Bar and Grill, our friends at Bud Light, FlyLady.net, the Ocean City Golf Club, G&G Outfitters, Ravens247.com, the Comfort Inn Gold Coast, and JCTickets.net. Special guest with us, Ravens owner Steve Bisciotti, joining us for year number 3? I was 4. Yeah, I was 4 now. Okay.
You were part of the mix back then.
That's right. I missed out on one of these.
I mean, you are a 6-time Parkville Touch Football League champion.
No, I'm not.
Makes all the difference.
I forgot to write that into the script for this week.
You're killing me with that.
But I do know that Bruce played for 14 years. I finally have that down.
Yeah, but we won 51 straight games.
That's right.
Different story.
I know, guys, in the last segment we were talking about fines, and we also want to kind of pick up on that and also talk about some changes in rules. I know, Tony, you want to talk about the kickoff rule. The one question, Steve, I have for you, and I think you touched upon a little bit in the last segment, is are we going to see, hopefully, the pendulum swing? I clearly agree that the headshots have to be taken out to prolong the life of these NFL players, that we see some of the old guys sadly dying at 50 and 60 years of age. But is the pendulum going to swing back? Because this is getting a little ridiculous here.
Yeah, I think it will. I think that you have to, and I think that they're going a little too far, and I do think that that they'll clean it up and they'll teach the refs, and the interesting thing is they said that if you think it's illegal hit, you should err on the side of throwing the flag.
Err on the side of
and
safety.
the
referees are told that?
Yes, err on the side of safety. The problem with that is, I know, whether they want to admit it or not, that what they're saying is it's pretty hard to fine a guy if you didn't throw a flag. So in order for us to keep our fining going, err on the side of giving us the opportunity to throw the fine in, right?
I just want a piece of that money, man. Where's all that money
Charity.
going?
It goes to charity.
Yeah. I know I'm from your side.
Well, what about Matt Burke? He gets a $5,000 fine because he got a wise. I saw that. Yeah,
they rescinded it.
$5,000 because he
yanked off the mic, right? Or,
He did, and was sticking him in the neck. It was really painful.
Well, one of the things they changed in the offseason too was that they went from the 30-yard line to the 35-yard line. And I find it's really interesting in a lot of different ways. Number one, obviously the number of touchbacks is increasing, but at the same time, you see a lot of these guys coming out from 7, 8, 9 yards deep, returning the ball.
Yeah.
And it just seems to me that there would be more tackles inside the 15-yard line as a result, because they're running from the 35. But somewhere along the line, the geometry's all messed up.
I couldn't agree more. There's something going on in the geometry of that, because the guy that ran it out from 2 yards deep, that's now running it out from 7 yards deep, is not getting tackled on the 18 instead of the 23. So you wonder whether it's a visual perception thing where these guys are going down and they're getting a little lazier because the percentage of touchbacks are so high now that maybe subconsciously they're running at 90% speed because they're so used to being touchback. That maybe it's spot on. I'm asleep a little bit, and so therein lies that the statistical anomaly that is running them out after the 7th and 8 yard lines.
And if I'm not mistaken, the intent was really to prevent more injuries.
And it is, because there are more touchbacks, obviously. Right. There are more touchbacks, so there's less run backs. And so, obviously, the statistics were overwhelming from a amount of kickoffs. The amount of injuries per kickoff play versus per play was 5 times greater or something like that.
And so it is today.
Yeah, and I will tell you, doing that for a living, because everybody from the kickoff team is sprinting. So you can imagine you are going 40, 50 yards at full go, and those collisions, obviously, they're coming at you, are monumental. The sizes of the wedge people and all that, so that contact is unbelievable, and I think that's what they really tried to do. In the meantime, even the 70s, 80s, you look 5 yards, that fool's not coming out. Right. So you do mentally go, okay, I'll throttle it down, he's not coming. And I think later on in the season, you'll see a lot of those guys outside of 5 yards deep not taking it out. They'll take the touchback and get on with life.
The question is, with the weather,
what will the ball be colder?
will it be going 8 yards?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah.
Might not be.
Speaking of competition, we see rookie quarterbacks this year. Andy Dalton with Cincinnati in our division, Cam Newton in Carolina. How do you explain these rookie quarterbacks, no OTAs, shortened practice time a little bit with the lockout? How do you explain their success? I mean, is it from high school to college now? They've evolved with the passing game? What's your thoughts?
I think that the NFL is evolving into more of a league, because it's more of a passing league, that they are doing more spreads, and that they are employing more 2 tight ends that are receiving tight ends, not blocking tight ends. And I do think that I think it's easier. I think that you're finding that with 3 and 4 wides and multiple options on offense, that these guys are able to do maybe what they couldn't do before, because it was tucked in a little bit more. They were typically 8 in the box. You typically made a quarterback deal with the handoff.
Yeah.
Are you waving to me? Are we losing time?
And real quick, I think it's a big difference.
You know what? My wife does this.
Whatever works.
I guess let's wrap up this segment here.
Are you embarrassed to invite people to your home to watch your favorite football team? Well, don't worry, because you're not alone. FlyLady.net is the support you need. Join us and our more than 600,000 members and learn how to crush the clutter and game plan your way through routines that'll help you organize your home and your life. Tackle clutter and get your home game day ready with FlyLady.net.
G&G Outfitters, Inc. is a premier full-service in-house provider of branded merchandise and marketing solutions. With over 20 years of proven experience, G&G continues to successfully produce branded merchandise for some of the world's leading corporations, associations, and teams. From start to finish, G&G Outfitters is your single-source, one-stop partner for promotional products, logoed apparel, and all of your branded needs. For more info on the services and capabilities of G&G, visit ggoutfitters.com or call 301-731-2282.
What's this all about?
We're giving Rich the NFL experience of a goal line dive.
Really?
There's an easier way to get an ultimate NFL fan experience. Just snap the tag wherever Bud Light is sold and you can win. Bud Light in the NFL. Here we go.
Can I make it?
On the internet, yes. Into the end zone, no.
Come see us at Blue Rock.
It is the Ravens Wrap Show here on Comcast Beach TV and Delmarva's Rock Radio, home of the Ravens, 93.5 The Beach. We're at the Blue Ox Bar and Grill, 127th Street, Coastal Highway in Ocean City. Ravensers 44 with us, as always. Give yourself a round of applause. I love it. Special guest, Ravens owner Steve Bisciotti joining us, along with Tony Lombardi, Bruce Laird. I'm Mike Bradley, and Tony, go ahead. We're shooting more questions.
Oh, we've got a lot of questions.
Yes.
Now, we keep staying with the league issues for a little while first. I know one of the things in the CBA was the 18-game schedule. And we look at the Ravens roster, and they've been pretty fortunate with injuries so far this year. I know there's been some frustrating injuries with Ben Grubbs. We miss him, and Lee Evans can't get out on the field, and Jimmy Smith is now just getting back into the mix of things. But with an 18-game season, is that something that, I mean, we hear that it still might be in the mix or still on the table. How is that possible, and how can you circumvent some of these injuries with an 18-game season?
That's a great question. There's a lot of moving parts to this thing. Number one is in our last collective bargaining agreement, the owners had the unilateral right to impose 18-game schedule. The union couldn't do anything about it. One of the bargaining chips at the very end of our deal was that we gave back that. We put it back in as a negotiable item. So now the players have to agree with us. And we felt that was fair because we weren't in a position to make a presentation. It's pretty hard to hear through the noise when you know I don't need your permission to do what I'm doing. The minute I need your permission and we have to agree on it, then it opens up and we can talk about all these things.
Right.
One is, do you go to 18 games? Number two, how, if you do you add in a second bye week to add 3 weeks to our season, which would create more money and give them more rest? We've already reduced certain practice elements of the season, so we're already reducing impact. If you do 2 bye weeks, so you've stretched it 3 more weeks for the 2 extra games plus a bye, and you've increased from 16 to 18, you're looking at 15% more games, but do you allow for more guys on your roster? And if you allow to have 5 more guys on your roster, then statistically there should be no more injuries. Now that doesn't mean that Ray Lewis is going to agree to sit out those plays and have the 7th linebacker playing for him, right? So for certain guys, it might increase, technically it would increase their chances of injury, but there also is just the statistical fact that if he gets 15% more money by playing 15% more games, then his career would last 14 years instead of 16 years. He'd still play the same amount of games. He'd still make the same amount of money. He'd just get to retire 2 years earlier.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So.
It will be interesting to see how that.
But he's going to play till he's 40.
And this, well, you know what? This is the thing.
50.
This is the thing that makes me mad in the negotiation that you all hear over and over and over. The average tenure of an NFL player is 3 years. That is absolute BS. The average tenure of a real NFL player is 10 years. The ones that aren't good enough get cut after a year.
Hence the 3
so
years.
In effect, that creates your average in 3 years.
Yeah.
Tell me the average tenure of Pro Bowl players. Just do by Pro Bowls, because if you're good enough to be a Pro Bowler, it would be 10.
Absolutely.
Right? It will be double digit. It would have to be 10 because the
average will be double digit.
Pro Bowlers are 8 to 10 to 12 to 14. So it's not 3 years. You know.
And Steve, to your point, because this is a statistic truth. If you make it 3 years in the show, you're 78% chance of making it 6. So what he's saying is, once you get that opportunity to be on a football team or numerous football teams, and you played yourself through 3 years, you more than likely will, barring injury, play 6 years in the business. I mean, the fact, and what that shows to everybody, especially you fans, this is a very, very competitive business. Only the best survive.
Ravens Wrap is brought to you by Bud Light, FlyLady.net, Ocean City Golf Club, Comfort Inn Gold Coast, Ravens247.com, the original Green Turtle Sports Bar and Grill, and hosted by the Blue Ox Bar and Grill.
Ravens Wrap Show, special edition from the Blue Ox, 127th Street and Coastal Highway in Ocean City, here on Comcast Beach TV and Delmarva's Rock Radio, home of the Ravens, 93.5 The Beach. Want to thank our sponsors, the original Green Turtle, of course the folks here at the Blue Ox Bar and Grill, Bud Light, FlyLady.net, the Ocean City Golf Club, G&G Outfitters, Ravens247.com, the Comfort Inn Gold Coast, and JCTickets.net. Mike Bradley from 105.7 The Fan, Bruce Laird, former All-Pro Baltimore Colt, Tony Lombardi from Ravens247.com, and special guest with us, Ravens owner Steve Bisciotti. And also in the house, we got Ocean City Mayor Rick Meehan, so a hand for him. All right, folks, before we give me my Parkville Touch Football. Will you get off that? Yeah, please. All right, before we...
you never won 51 in a row.
All right, before we get into more talk with Ravens owner Steve Bisciotti, we got a raffle to give away. The more times you come down, the more chances you have at winning. Also, we've got that November 30th drawing for the trip to San Diego, which Steve has kindly donated his jet to fly everybody out there for. What a guy! That's the only way I get to go.
You are bad.
All right, Steve, we're going to have you draw the winner now. Up for grabs here, we've got two very nice Pewter Ravens mugs for your morning coffee or whatever you want to throw in that coffee as well. Ooh! So, Steve, you got a ticket, you got a numbered winner here?
How many numbers do I have to get?
Last three digits.
637.
637. We have a winner. All right, well, we'll have you get them at the end of the segment there. So congrats to you. Come on!
How many pairs?
Come on down, the number's right. We'll pass those. We need to get this set a little better looking. Have it come on.
Nice.
Let me find one you don't have.
There you go.
Jeez.
Steve wants to go to Parkville.
Nice.
She's a winner.
She's a winner.
I got a silver Sharpie. He'll sign it.
Nice. You have a silver?
Yeah. In my bag. I'll have him sign it.
Oh, go ahead. You bring him up.
You need those silver markers.
He's going to sign it. I got a silver Sharpie in my bag.
That means a life of hand washing now instead of a...
Who's got a silver Sharpie? There we go. I have all colors. I need the silver for black. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
I love it.
So the other trip's to San Diego.
Yes. Yeah. The more times you come down, we give out tickets every time. Blue tickets, and the more blue tickets you have, the more chances you have at winning. That trip to San Diego
on the private jet.
On Steve's private jet, and Bruce Lair would be your first guy as well.
Well, actually, I'm trying to think if I can fly it and afford the fuel, and neither one can happen. So we'll have to come back with Plan B.
All right, well, while Steve's signing, guys, let's recap real quick. Huge game this past Sunday. Ravens won 30-27, biggest comeback in Ravens history after completing just 12 of 23 for 98 yards and tossing a pick and getting sacked twice in the first half. The Ravens go to the no huddle, or the sugar huddle, as Brian Billick called it. And the second half, it pays off. The Ravens, Joe Flacco, 19 of 28, 238 yards, was sacked just once. Anquan Bolden, 7 catches, 145 yards. Ray Rice, 99 total yards. 3 touchdowns, folks. And the defense, Terrell Suggs, 13 tackles, 1 sack. Jared Johnson, 6 tackles and a sack. Paul Kruger, 2 sacks and 2 quarterback hits. Now, I got to tell you, Bruce, this season offensively, it's been a roller coaster ride. And I tell you, my bar tab's been a lot more than what I would have liked it to have been. But we'll talk to Steve about it.
Well, I mean, real quick before I segue to Steve Bisciotti, I mean, the last 6 quarters, I've been up with him a few times when he grinds through those games. And he has a suite. It's a big suite. But let me tell you, he sits off in his own little world. You don't really mess with him. So, Steve, you watched the Jacksonville game. You went down there. You watched this. How are you feeling about that? How are you feeling about that? As you go through
Ravens was 44, came down for that Jacksonville game, by the way.
I saw a big crowd. It was very cool. It's after 11 years, you just know that they're gonna, and all the cliches about trap game and taking them lightly and everything else. It's like Ray Rice fumbled the ball. He didn't take them lightly. When you know what I mean? Like when these things happen, it's just it happens, and it's like we're so provincial that we tend to focus on just our team. But when you read and watch 40 hours a week, 50 hours a week, 60 hours a week of this stuff, it's all over the place. It's happening all over. You've got Cam Newton throwing for 440 yards and losing. You've got New Orleans in the last 2 weeks, beat a team by 50 and then turn around and or they're getting shut out. I'm looking at the thing and I'm going, it's 17-0. St. Louis, this is 24-0 now. It's like, how can it happen? Yeah. So if it can happen to Drew Brees and company, then it can happen to us. And you gotta get over it. That's why I hide from the world on Mondays and Tuesdays, so I don't make enemies.
Well, we'll pick up on the offense next. More of the Ravens Wrap Show on Comcast Beach TV and 93.5 The Beach.
Are you embarrassed to invite people to your home to watch your favorite football team? Well, don't worry, because you're not alone. FlyLady.net is the support you need. Join us and our more than 600,000 members and learn how to crush the clutter and game plan your way through routines that'll help you organize your home and your life. Tackle clutter and get your home game day ready with FlyLady.net.
G&G Outfitters, Inc. is a premier full-service in-house provider of branded merchandise and marketing solutions. With over 20 years of proven experience, G&G continues to successfully produce branded merchandise for some of the world's leading corporations, associations, and teams. From start to finish, G&G Outfitters is your single-source, one-stop partner for promotional products, logoed apparel, and all of your branded needs. For more info on the services and capabilities of G&G, visit ggoutfitters.com or call 301-731-2282.
JC Tickets provides first-class trips to Ravens road games, including airfare, 4-star hotels, game tickets, and cocktail parties. We also help provide great seating locations to all Ravens home games. JC Tickets, where the games begin. Visit us at jctickets.net. Win a trip to San Diego for 2 when you attend the Raven Rap shows at the Blue Ox Bar and Grill on 127th Street. Get 1 free raffle ticket for every show you attend, Wednesdays, 7 to 9 p.m. Drawing is during the November 30th Ravens Rap show.
What's going on?
We're giving Matt the NFL experience of a high-pressure field goal.
Look out! It's terrible, man! There's an easier way to get an ultimate NFL fan experience. Just snap the tag wherever Bud Light is sold and you can win. Bud Light in the NFL. Here we go.
Hey, it gets easier. Really? No.
So we're picking up just a little bit. Steve, though, at the end of the day, that Arizona game, the Ravens win 30-27. You got to be proud of the offense, the way that they rebounded in the second half. And by all accounts, there was no panic in the locker room, much in the same way of the Houston game, that the guys just talked it out. They went out and they put up a lot of points and won the ball game.
Yeah, but there is no panic. There's no panic in any NFL locker room. It just doesn't work. You've gotten yourself to a whole different level by the time you know you're capable of doing it. The fact that you're not doing it one time doesn't change things. You know, they tell you the great shooters, you go 0 for 8, you better get in 4 more shots before halftime.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? It's like you just keep doing what you know you do, and we know we're capable of doing well in spurts and poorly in spurts. And so the hurry up is as much to get as many plays in, because we know we're going to need to score 5 times. So.
I mean, you had to be extremely proud of your football team, though. At home, you got people booing probably for the first time in years.
Yep.
And you know, I've never been a booer, but I mean, at the end of the day, they pay money. You're a head shaker, right? You're a head shaker. I don't ever boo anybody. So
you graduated to head shaker.
I got a stick. But I don't.
That's what I do. I do this.
Yeah, you get that little thing.
I wish I did that.
But anyway, I get football Tourette's. They had that happen to you at home, and they came back, and it's a great. And I said it on radio. I came right out. I thought it was a great win. Someone said, "Oh, 1-5 BS." It was a great win at home. This football.
Orleans is explaining an 0-6 team.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, there is no easy games in the NFL. It just isn't. It just isn't.
So at the end of the day, when you met with John and everybody, I mean, you really had to be proud of your people.
Yeah, I was very proud of them. Very proud of them. I didn't take much. You know, I was talking to John today, and I can't even imagine the avalanche of criticism if we had lost that game. So back-to-back games, but. You know, we want to. I was talking. I don't know if any of you saw this, but when I got home from Jacksonville, it's 2:30 in the morning. When I finally walked in the door, and at 3 o'clock, I get a text, and it said, "What was that, TD?" And I'm thinking, what the hell is Tommy Dickerson doing calling me at 3 o'clock in the morning? And I said, "Who is this?" And he says, "Trent Dilfer." And I said, "Call me." He goes, "Now or in the morning?" And I was like, "No, now." So we ended up talking for an hour from 3 a.m. to 4 a.m. and he was giving me this, and I said, "Trent," I said, "this sounds like the guy I see on ESPN. This doesn't sound like the guy that guided my team to a Super Bowl. So exactly what do you want me to do tomorrow? What do you want me to say? We are 4-2, and what do you exactly, and he said, you're right, okay, that's fair,
and rightfully so, because as players, you get so into that X and O and that thing, the game plan, and why this, why that. You're looking at, and I'm looking at, they're giving you a double man. Why don't we go in the bunch? Why aren't we doing? And you get so entrenched in that, you forget about that. You did it, and you had to go through that.
I used to talk to Coach Williams at midnight, and he lost by 7 points. And I said, Coach, you went 3 for 18 from 3-point range. They were open looks. They weren't forcing the shots. If you don't go 3 and 18, you're up by 7 instead of down by 7. Like it just you got to, when it comes right down to it in basketball like that. If Joe misses receivers miss run the wrong routes, a little shallow, a little deep. The linemen miscommunicate, and 2 guys block one, and another guy comes clean and strips Joe Flacco. It's like it still always comes down to the easiest person to blame is the quarterback, the offensive coordinator, and the coach. And that's what we live with. That's the world we live in.
And let's talk about that, Stevie, because you have a solid coaching staff, but your statement is spot on. They're going to go, it's either John, Cam, Chuck, or Joe. And Cam has taken, again, another series of hits after you said something in your press conference the year before that, okay, I've given more and more responsibility to John, and quite frankly, I don't know if this is verbatim, but if Cam has a problem, I'm not talking to Cam, I'm going to be talking to John about it.
Mm-hmm. It still comes back to Cam. I think that the criticism of him is unwarranted to a large degree. I think some of it's constructive. I think some of it actually that you listen to, but there is such a thing as execution, and I listened last year. After I saw you guys last year, we went through a period where if he ran it and it was unsuccessful, then he's an idiot, he should have been throwing it. If he's throwing it and he's unsuccessful, then he's an idiot. So you really are only good if they all execute the play, then it was smart. If he had missed that 9 route to Torrey Smith when we could have grinded 10 yards and maybe kicked a 47-yard field goal to win that game, then they would have said, you're an idiot for throwing the ball down there, but he gave us a chip shot, we had a guaranteed win.
We'll pick it up from there. More about the Ravens offense. The Ravens under Steve Bisciotti now.
Ravens Wrap is brought to you by Bud Light, FlyLady.net, Ocean City Golf Club, Comfort Inn Gold Coast, Ravens247.com, the original Green Turtle Sports Bar and Grill, and hosted by the Blue Ox Bar and Grill. Ravens Wrap is brought to you by Bud Light, FlyLady.net, Ocean City Golf Club, Comfort Inn Gold Coast, Ravens247.com, the original Green Turtle Sports Bar and Grill, and hosted by the Blue Ox Bar and Grill.
And welcome back. It is a special installment of the Ravens Wrap Show here on Comcast Speech TV and Delmarva's Rock Radio, the strongest signal Ravens affiliate on the Eastern Shore, 93.5 The Beach. We are brought to you by the original Green Turtle, of course, the Blue Ox Bar and Grill, Bud Light, FlyLady.net, the Ocean City Golf Club, G&G Outfitters, Ravens247.com, the Comfort Inn Gold Coast, and JCTickets.net. Mike Bradley, Bruce Laird, Tony Lombardi, and special guest Ravens owner Steve Bisciotti joining us once again. A round of applause. All right, now Steve, I'd be remiss without asking this question. We've got last year's transcript, and the quote "Cam under fire" came up.
Here we go. Wow. Can I have one of those pretzels now?
Yeah.
There you go. Light her up.
I'm going to wear this helmet right now. You have more questions?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I will.
Make it short.
Right. Cam under fire came up, that we like Cam under fire, and that certainly, I think, to fans makes it feel like that, hey, this guy he's got something to prove this season. Taking a look at things with the offense, Joe Flacco, again, a lot of debate. I know doing a talk show up in Baltimore, I mean, Joe Flacco and Cam Cameron, you just bring up their two names, and for 3 hours I've got calls. I guess the question is, and we'll go back to Jacksonville, for instance. We were told during that press conference that there'd be more ownership in the offense for Joe Flacco, and that you know, Jim Zorn's gone, that there's more of a direct relationship there. And yet, for instance, I'll point out the 2-minute offense, Joe's looking to the sideline for plays to be called in. It still seems like Joe doesn't have the type of ownership in the offense, and some would say that it still seems to be somewhat of a cold relationship between him and Cam. That's why we ask you to get a good idea of what's going on and your thoughts on the entire situation in the offense this year.
Well, the offense is the offense.
I feel a whole can of yeah.
That's 27.
Was that one question? Yeah, that's about 500.
Listen, we're 7 games in to a 16-game season. I've got two second-year tight ends that caught a total of 12 balls together, I think, last year, 11-1.
Correct.
I've got 3 rookie wide receivers and a second-year guy that was hurt and never caught a ball last year. So with Lee Evans out, I've got Anquan Bolden and 4 guys that came into the year without a catch, and two tight ends with 1 year experience and 11 catches. So
you got a lot of rookies.
A lot of rookies. I've got a left tackle and a left guard that I couldn't be happier with them. Are they making mistakes? Yeah, they are. Was Ja Reed ready to step in at right tackle and Mike stay at left tackle? So Bryant McKinney brought us a lot. I can appreciate a 380-pound guy that lets speed rushers get around his edge. It's going to happen. I got a all-pro center that is being forced to play guard, and if it was Grubbs would be making McKinney better because Grubbs would be teaching McKinney. Now we're looking for Burke to teach Grubbs. It's like, you know, I used to cheat in math tests that way, and I only got half of them right. When you're more than 3 people away, you don't have a whole lot of chance of getting any right.
It does start down the line.
It does start down the line. So
it all breaks down.
You just got to give them a chance. You've just got to take the good with the bad, and there's some bad, but we're 5-2. If we're sitting here at 2-5, there's a lot of problems, and it would be easier for you to understand. And I don't try and sway your opinion. I'm not on the radio much or TV much, but you have to understand that Cam Cameron, if Cam runs that play where Polamalu comes off the edge and strips Joe of that ball, that was a gutsy call. That was a run blitz by Pittsburgh. Right. We took a tight end and put him in the flat, and there was a protection breakdown because when he stands there, they've got to now switch their protection.
Absolutely.
Michael Lord didn't understand it, so Michael Lord blocked the guy that he was originally going to block. Polamalu comes off the edge. If you make that play, we run the clock out, we win the game, all's good with the world. Cam Cameron didn't, and then they say, what's he throwing there? Why doesn't he run? Well, I heard 3 weeks later that he takes the air out of the ball, and in the fourth quarter, you know, we're letting teams come back because we don't go for the jugular. That call was a jugular call. That was 2nd and 5, and you're throwing the ball to the flat, and he was going to be uncovered, and Ed Dixon was going to get that first down. So just this last week, if he runs the ball and gets us in position and we miss a 47-yard field goal. If we make a 47-yard field goal, all's good with the world. If we miss a 47-yard field goal, I promise you somebody's going to go, Cam doesn't trust Joe to put the ball in the air, blah, blah, blah. So he calls a 9 route with a rookie wide receiver, and he catches the ball and we have a chip shot and win. So help me God, 90% of you would have blamed Cam Cameron for throwing the ball if Joe made a bad throw, or if Torrey made a bad drop. You all would have said it was Cam Cameron. I say you all, meaning the world is against Cam because the thing isn't going great all the time, but it's not Cam. It is a million people making slight mistakes. And in that instance, he would have been crucified for throwing the ball to Torrey Smith down that side.
All right, we'll pick that up next segment. Coming up next on the Ravens Drive. Well done, Steve.
G&G Outfitters, Inc. is a premier full-service in-house provider of branded merchandise and marketing solutions. With over 20 years of proven experience, G&G continues to successfully produce branded merchandise for some of the world's leading corporations, associations, and teams. From start to finish, G&G Outfitters is your single-source, one-stop partner for promotional products, logoed apparel, and all of your branded needs. For more info on the services and capabilities of G&G, visit ggoutfitters.com or call 301-731-2282.
Welcome to the Comfort Inn Gold Coast. Conveniently located just 1 block from the beach and adjacent to shopping at the Gold Coast Mall and the movie theater. Newly renovated and open year-round with a marvelous bayfront view. Visit us on the web at comfortgoldcoast.com and see our hot deals and great golf packages, or simply call our direct reservation line to plan your stay.
What's this all about?
We're giving Rich the NFL experience of a goal line dive.
Really?
There's an easier way to get an ultimate NFL fan experience. Just snap the tag wherever Bud Light is sold and you can win. Bud Light in the NFL. Here we go.
Can I make it?
On the internet, yes. Into the end zone, no.
As we've talked offense a lot of the last couple of segments, and Steve, I'll be honest with you, I couldn't agree with you more. I've been one of the more vehement backers of Cam in that there's a lot of different parts to it than just the offensive coordinator. I think he shares a certain amount of blame, but I think it all goes around. I think you brought up some very good points. It gives us some perspective, from the insiders type view, from the owners type view about things and about football with that. But Tony, I know you wanted to parlay with some.
Well, I think Steve brought up a point earlier in the program about we're all provincial, and we see our team, and our team is under a microscope. I'm driving down here to the beach from Baltimore, and I'm listening to Sirius NFL, and I'm hearing callers call in from San Diego talking about the Philip Rivers, how he's got happy feet, and so this isn't just specific to Baltimore. So these things go on all over the country, and that's a great thing because fans are passionate about the NFL. And you brought up a point earlier about Cam gets the criticism, or John gets the criticism, or Joe gets the criticism. But the thing that I want to get a better understanding of is, and I think I speak for the fans, is that when you have this off season and you have John who says he's going to get more involved in the offense, and you see how a new defensive coordinator gets in the mix, understands what I call the DNA of that defense, and really plugs in and gets those guys going. So we've got that taken care of. On the other side of the football, you take away Jim Zorn, Al Saunders goes out to Oakland. Some of those voices in the head of Joe Flacco are gone. And I wonder, from your perspective and from what you see from the team, how does a man like Cam coordinate an offense, create a game plan, and still coach up the little idiosyncrasies that can make Joe Flacco go from what I think is just slightly above average quarterback to that elite status?
Yeah, I think that's really what it comes down to, is that I'm not going to argue with you whether you think he's the 15th best or the 12th best. Nobody's saying he's the 6th best. Nobody's saying he's the 8th best. Anybody that says he's not an average quarterback doesn't know football. So a guy that hasn't reached the 3.5-year mark, we're looking at him trying to develop an offense with guys who have been on that team for, go down the offensive line. Grubbs, 4 years. Matt Burke. The other
4 years.
4. Burke?
Oh, you mean
3 years?
Marshall Yonda.
This is 5th year, right? Or 3rd year. So, tight ends, second year, rookie wide receiver. Anquan Bolden, veteran who's only been on our team 2 years. Now go to my defense. Ed Reed.
9 and 10.
Gerald Johnson.
10.
Ray Lewis.
16, whatever, 100.
You're talking 100.
You've been there forever.
But there's a difference. So there is when you go from year to year to year, and you're starting to stack guys like we're able to stack, then there is something there that you get to build on. When you are building an offense, believe it or not, we are getting to the stage where by next year, Flacco and Ray Rice are the leaders of the team. They're going to be there, and they're going to be young leaders. And that's a big difference, but it's a little bit of an unfair advantage for our offense because we're trying to ask fourth-year players to be leaders, and because they're the most tenured guys on the offense, and we're not asking that out of guys.
And you've got some challenging decisions to make really going forward with those two guys. Rice is a free agent next year. There's some big contracts out there for running backs.
I'll be taking up a collection.
Chris Johnson just made it a little bit more expensive to sign Ray Rice.
I don't know that he did. I mean, I don't know that he did. The failure.
You think that was market value? You're saying possible?
I just think it's just he looks horrible. 2.8 yards a carry since he signed this big deal.
He looks lazy.
Missed training camp, a lot of training camp.
Yeah, and Ray's got higher character, and Ray's a better guy, and Ray's production isn't going to go backwards if we give Ray a big deal. But just like we said about Heap and Mason, cutting Kelly Gregg was as hard as cutting Mason and Heap. I mean, these guys are that it's really, really hard. But the problem with the NFL and the money is that the highest paid guys are getting a higher percentage of the overall cap. And I don't know that you guys think about it that way or any of our fans do, but when I got into this business, top quarterbacks were making $6 million. 10 years later, they're making 15. Well, my salary cap didn't go up 2.5 times. I went from 80 to 130. I barely went up 50%, but $6 million, guys were making $6 million when I walked in, the good quarterbacks, and now they're making $15, $18 million. So every time when the highest paid guys are getting a higher percentage of the overall cap, then you've got a problem, because then that means you got to get rid of the B players. If the more A players you have, the more C players you've got to accept. You've got to force these guys into the lineup because you can't afford $5 million Derek Masons and $3.5 million Derek Mason, $4.5 million Todd Heaps, $4 million Kelly Gregg. So it just happened. So when we get around to signing Joe Flacco and Ray Rice, watch your jersey, because we might be cutting them next year. You know, there's a lot of guys out there that in order to get Ray Rice and Joe Flacco signed, I'm going to have to make a lot of unpopular decisions, but that's why they pay me nothing, actually.
That's it.
I was going to say some big bucks.
Hey, that concludes the TV portion here. We'll be back with Steve Bisciotti. Thank you so much for the TV portion here of the Ravens Wrap Show. Comcast Beach TV and 93.5 The Beach. We'll talk to you next week.
Ravens Wrap is brought to you by Bud Light, FlyLady.net, Ocean City Golf Club, Comfort Inn Gold Coast, Ravens247.com, the original Green Turtle Sports Bar and Grill, and hosted by the Blue Ox Bar and Grill.